November 6563 Delta, verify altitude and maintain 12,000. November 6563 Delta, you're losing altitude. I suggest you turn east or southeast. I'm doing the best I can. Mayday.
After an unforgettable spring break holiday at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, the Crenshaw family departs from Kissimmee Gateway Airport on a bright and clear Saturday morning, just before noon. The return journey begins with a cross-country flight back to their hometown of Jackson, Tennessee, approximately 580 nautical miles away. Filled with cherished memories of their time together, the Crenshaw family looks forward to settling back into their daily routines, carrying with them the joy and experiences of this spring break holiday.
Orlando approach, November 6563 Delta, off runway 15 at Kissimmee Gateway Airport, climbing to 2,000 feet.
Piloting this 1974 Cessna T210 Turbo Centurion, registration November 6563 Delta, is 45-year-old Joseph Crenshaw. He is a respected senior financial advisor at First Tennessee Bank in Jackson, Tennessee, where he has worked for nearly 2 decades. He earned his private pilot certificate in 2010 and has accumulated around 288 total flight hours, including approximately 75 hours in the Cessna T210. He also holds an instrument rating, which allows him to operate in instrument meteorological conditions. Accompanying Joseph on this flight are his 43-year-old wife, Jennifer, and their 2 children, Jacob and Jillian. Joseph and Jennifer have shared over 20 years of marriage, building a life filled with love and adventure. Jennifer, in addition to holding a Bachelor's of Science and a registered nursing degree, is also a certified private pilot with a passion for flying. Jacob, 16, and Jillian, 14, are both students at the University School of Jackson in Jackson, Tennessee. Jacob plays on the football team and has been a committed member of the USJ Band for 4 years, where he plays the drums. Jillian is passionate about theater, participating in school musicals and plays, and is also a member of the tennis club. This spring break holiday has been the perfect getaway for the adventurous Crenshaw family, allowing them to create lasting memories together. Earlier that morning at around 6 a.m., Joseph utilized ForeFlight to check the prevailing weather conditions and file an IFR flight plan for their return flight. Departing from Kissimmee Gateway Airport on this Saturday morning, Joseph plans to follow a northwesterly flight path toward their destination, McKellar-Sipes Regional Airport, located in Jackson, Tennessee. The anticipated route covers roughly 580 nautical miles. At an average cruise speed of 170 knots in their Cessna T210 Turbo Centurion, the flight duration is expected to be about 3 hours and 25 minutes, maintaining a planned cruising altitude of 10,000 feet. Approximately 40 minutes into the flight, Joseph establishes communication with the Jacksonville R-28 sector controller, reporting that the aircraft is maintaining an altitude of 10,000 feet and proceeding on course.
Jacksonville Center, November 6563 Delta at 10,000 feet and on course.
November 6563 Delta, roger. Altimeter 3024.
Altimeter 3024, November 6563 Delta.
Cruising smoothly at 10,000 feet, the Crenshaw family's flight is unfolding as planned. Joseph expertly pilots the Cessna T210 Turbo, with the skies being relatively clear, enough to reinforce their anticipation of an uneventful flight. However, 20 minutes later at 12:50, the Jacksonville Center controller broadcasts a convective SIGMET warning of thunderstorms with tops exceeding 40,000 feet along Joseph's planned route. A convective SIGMET is a critical weather advisory issued by the NWS Aviation Weather Center for severe convective activity, including thunderstorms with winds over 50 knots, hail larger than 1 inch, tornadoes, and other significant weather hazards. These advisories also imply severe turbulence, icing, and low-level wind shear. Joseph acknowledges the advisory and continues on his planned route, feeling confident that this weather advisory doesn't necessitate an immediate alteration to his flight plan.
Atlanta approach November 6563 Delta, level at 10,000.
As the minutes pass and merge into another hour, November 6563 Delta maintains its steady cruise at 10,000 feet. It has now become evident that the weather is changing rapidly. In the distance, flashes of lightning illuminate towering cumulonimbus clouds, signaling the presence of a thunderstorm system. Roughly 1 hour after the first SIGMET broadcast, at 13:55, a second convective SIGMET is issued over frequency, highlighting a dangerous escalation in the weather directly impacting the Crenshaw's flight path. The once calm skies are now a stage of growing tension, with November 6563 Delta edging closer to the looming storm system detailed in the advisories.
Switching to 124.0, November 6563 Delta.
Joseph now recognizes that maintaining his current heading will lead directly into the heart of the thunderstorm system. He promptly contacts Montgomery ATC to request a course deviation, seeking a safer route around the severe weather ahead.
Montgomery approach November 6563 Delta, requesting right deviation for weather.
November 6563 Delta, deviation to the right approved as requested.
Right deviation approved, November 6563 Delta. Montgomery approach November 6563 Delta is back on course, possible further deviation in 10 minutes.
Roger, report is needed.
Merely 3 minutes later, Joseph makes another request to deviate further to the right.
Montgomery approach November 6563 Delta, requesting deviation further to the right for weather.
November 6563 Delta, deviation approved.
Deviation approved, November 6563 Delta.
November 6563 Delta, contact Birmingham approach.
Switching to Birmingham, November 6563 Delta.
In an attempt to stay clear of the worsening weather, Joseph continues his deviation right off course, following instructions to establish contact with Birmingham approach.
Birmingham approach, November 6563 Delta, level at 10,000, deviating right for weather.
November 6563 Delta, roger that. Continue deviations as necessary.
Birmingham approach, November 6563 Delta, requesting climb to 12,000.
November 6563 Delta, climb and maintain 12,000 and contact Atlanta Center.
Climbing to 12,000, switching to Atlanta Center, November 6563 Delta.
A growing sense of urgency grips the cockpit as Joseph begins a climb to a higher altitude, attempting to navigate through the escalating storm. The Crenshaw family's predicament becomes increasingly precarious with each passing moment as Joseph establishes contact with Atlanta Center.
Atlanta Center, November 6563 Delta, deviating to the right for weather, climbing through 10,800 for 12,000.
November 6563 Delta, Atlanta Center, be advised of moderate to extreme precipitation ahead on your current heading.
Atlanta Center, we're willing to proceed wherever you think offers the quickest route through this weather.
November 6563 Delta, Atlanta Center, I don't have a better route for you at this time. Deviation as necessary is approved. Proceed direct to your destination when able.
Roger, we'll navigate through as needed. November 6563 Delta.
The warning of severe weather and heavy precipitation directly in their path ahead underscores the severity of the situation, as Atlanta Center offers no safer alternatives. Aware of the growing danger, Joseph begins climbing and deviating, relying solely on his skill and judgment to navigate through the treacherous storm. Each decision becomes more critical as the escalating weather threatens to overwhelm the Crenshaw family's flight.
November 6563 Delta, verify altitude and maintain 12,000.
Having some trouble with
November 6563 Delta, check altitude, maintain 12,000.
Yes, I'm working on it.
As Atlanta Center urges Joseph to maintain his altitude of 12,000 feet, his strained responses reveal mounting difficulties. With each transmission, it becomes increasingly clear that he is struggling to control the aircraft amid the worsening storm, the tension in his voice mirroring the escalating crisis.
November 6563 Delta, you're losing altitude. I suggest you turn east or southeast.
I'm doing the best I can.
November 6563 Delta, you're showing 5,800 feet. Check altitude. November 6563 Delta, Atlanta Center. November 6563 Delta, Atlanta Center.
A plane crash in Blount County, Alabama has left 4 people dead. Around 2 o'clock this afternoon, a small plane traveling from Florida to Tennessee crashed outside of Hayden, Alabama. All 4 people on board died in the wreck. Authorities say they believe they are family members and that the aircraft's wings came off in flight. The FAA and the NTSB will be at the site tomorrow to investigate.
Emergency responders arrived swiftly at the crash site of November 6563 Delta, located in a wooded area near Hayden, Alabama, approximately 30 miles north of Birmingham. Analysis of the wreckage confirmed that November 6563 Delta experienced an in-flight breakup before impact. The debris field extended over 4,550 feet along a southwest trajectory, consistent with catastrophic structural failure in flight. Key components, including sections of the left elevator, wings, and fuselage, were scattered along the path, with the main wreckage located at the end of the debris field. Examination revealed that the left wing and center wing sections separated from the fuselage but remained intact. The right wing, however, separated outboard of the top and bottom spars and broke into 3 large pieces. Despite the extensive damage, no mechanical anomalies were found in the airframe or engine that would have precluded normal operation. These findings underline the devastating sequence of events leading to the in-flight breakup, likely triggered by the severe weather conditions encountered during the flight. Following an extensive investigation spanning just over 1 year, the NTSB published its final report on March 28, 2018, detailing the fatal accident involving November 6563 Delta. The investigation concluded that the probable cause was the pilot's decision to proceed into adverse weather conditions, resulting in spatial disorientation and a subsequent loss of control, which led to an in-flight structural breakup. The report identified several key issues contributing to the accident, including deficiencies in decision-making and judgment, spatial disorientation, and the pilot's inability to maintain aircraft control under the challenging conditions. Joseph's decision-making and judgment came under scrutiny during the investigation, as his actions revealed critical lapses in assessing and responding to weather-related risks. Despite receiving detailed weather briefings through ForeFlight at 6 a.m. and again at 11:34, just 20 minutes before departure, he elected to proceed with the flight. These briefings included all pertinent reports, forecasts, advisories, and NOTAMs for the planned route from Kissimmee, Florida to Jackson, Tennessee. While no hazardous weather advisories or convective SIGMETs were active at the time, the forecasts highlighted scattered severe thunderstorms along the route and marginal conditions at the destination. Midway through the flight, conditions deteriorated rapidly as 2 convective SIGMETs were issued, warning of severe thunderstorms with tops exceeding 40,000 feet. Despite the worsening weather, Joseph continued on course, a decision attributed to the cognitive bias known as get-there-itis, which often affects pilots driven to complete a flight despite escalating risks. Radar data and analysis suggest the aircraft encountered instrument meteorological conditions, turbulence, and possible icing, an environment ripe for spatial disorientation. These factors overwhelmed Joseph's ability to maintain control, ultimately leading to an in-flight breakup. Joseph's decision to proceed through deteriorating weather conditions, despite the clear availability of safer alternatives such as diverting to the alternate airport listed on the IFR flight plan or another suitable nearby airport, is deeply troubling.
I'm doing the best I can.
By continuing the flight, he exposed the aircraft and its occupants to significant hazards, including severe turbulence, potential icing, and towering cumulonimbus clouds explicitly noted in the convective SIGMETs. A timely diversion would have effectively mitigated these risks, preserving the safety of all on board and averting the catastrophic sequence of events that ensued. This tragedy underscores the imperative of sound judgment and strict adherence to fundamental aviation safety principles, including the prudent selection of alternate airports and the prioritization of risk management over the compulsion to complete a flight, particularly in adverse weather conditions.